So now let's use what we've learned, right? What we know to go through and provision a bunch of accounts in AD. I'll try to get a little more on the screen here, but all right, so we have a function here called batch MLP. We're going to create an OU. We're going to name it one MLP main characters. And we're going to create in a group. And if I'm going to go over the first function, but basically we're following the same procedure all the way down 4 more times. So there's 5 functions we're going to call. And that's to provision user accounts, organizational units, and global security groups for 5 different divisions in our Active Directory domain. Okay, so it's really the same thing logically that's going on. So once we go over the first function, or maybe the first and second function, you should have no qualms about understanding what's going on in the remaining 3. It's just doing the same thing, just with different criteria. Notice that we're populating values. We're setting all these up top and local variables: the domain name, the domain path, the location, which we are concatenating the OU name and the domain path together. First, we're going to create an OU. That's the OU name, right? 1 MLP main characters. And then with the location equals location, well, that's going to be the OU part, which is OU equals 1 MLP main characters, and then the domain path, which is DC equals Battlestars, comma, DC equals fleet. So that whole thing together, concatenated together, is an LDAP string. It's a complete lightweight directory access protocol string to access that OU and those domain components, right? And we're using the command we went over, new AD organizational unit, to make a new OU by that name at that location. Here we're just going to wait, because with multiple domain controllers, we need to wait a few seconds for replication to take place. Otherwise, if we do this too fast, we create an OU, and then if we try to create a global security group and then create a bunch of users in that OU, and it hasn't replicated and propagated in Active Directory, then we're going to have errors. We're going to have issues and things. So all we're doing here is we're sleeping 1 second and no new line. So we're just going to go dot, space, dot, space, dot, space, dot. Just sort of like a moving ellipsis. Sort of a rudimentary, very simple progress bar and ASCII texts as we wait for those changes to propagate, right? So we've created our organizational unit. Now we're going to create a new AD group, a global security group, for the purpose of all the users who will be administrators over that OU, okay? So we created the OU. Now we create the group using the same variables, right? That location is the LDAP string. The group name is the group name that we specified up here. MLP-FEM, friendship is magic-admins. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to wait another 5 seconds for replication for that to propagate in Active Directory. Here we have some values: the city, the office, the web. These are all attributes that we're going to use with our user accounts. And as a quick way to create a bunch of user accounts with different attribute data, we have a 2-dimensional array here. So Twilight, Sparkle, Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, Applejack, Pinkie Pie, and Rarity. And their attribute data up here, the syntax that's going to follow is name, display name, user principal login name or UPN, SAM account, email, title, department, and description. All that data. So Twilight Sparkle, she's a chief musician. Rainbow Dash, she's a weather manager. Fluttershy, she's an animal caregiver. Applejack, she's an agricultural engineer. Pinkie Pie, she's the festivities planner. Rarity, she's the chief set designer. Fashionista, party animal, Texas cowgirl, kind animal lover, outgoing overachiever, understudy to Princess Celestia or Princess C. And of course, they all need a unique employee ID number. So then we're going to take that array, that 2-dimensional array, right? So there are 6 rows and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns in each row. 6 rows, 7 columns. We're going to plug that into our repetition structure. And again, if you need to, go back and review those videos that we did on PowerShell, using arrays and using loops and repetition structures. Because it's a very quick and powerful way to populate Active Directory with user objects and groups and OUs and things. Much quicker than using the GUI or the graphical interface. And once you get your basic template coded out, your structure, you can just copy that function and modify it to do totally different things, totally new things. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to recode everything from scratch. You've got your basic logic down. You can just copy and paste it into a new function and modify what you need to modify. So anyway, that's what, we're taking advantage of arrays, a 2D array, and a repetition structure here to populate AD. Okay, from this information, we're going to use the split method. And where there's a space in the display name, that's how we're going to populate the first name and last name fields, which are different, surname and from the display name field. We're going to create a password, a default password, path, a home page. The profile path is going to be on our file server, in this case Galactica, profiles, and then it's going to be X, and then remember that it's off by 1, right? 0 is the first column, 1 is the second column. So the second column is going to be UPN. So every single user is going to get a profile directory, a profile path and a home directory based on their UPN, okay? And we'll simply map it. We'll map it to Z. And then the given name and the surname, first name, last name, that's using the split method, which just simply, it uses that space character as a delimiter. So Twilight first, Sparkle last, and so forth, all the way down. And we're just adding the domain name in for user principal name, UPN, and also for email address here. Department, description, and then other Active Directory attributes, okay, for our user account. So we do that, we create the user in this step, and then still inside the for loop, we're going to add that user to the security group, okay? So we do that, and that creates Twilight, Sparkle, Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, Applejack, Pinkie Pie, and Rarity, okay? And that's in this one function, batch MLP. Then we're going to call batch BSG. It essentially does the same thing. It's just that the data is different. Oops, I didn't mean to click on that, but it essentially does the same thing. It's just that the data is different, okay? So in this case, the OU is going to be 2 BSG Silent Hybrids, and the group name BSG Silent Human Hybrid Crew. Domain path, location, we concatenate the strings together to build up the LDAP string. Same thing, create the organizational unit, wait 5 seconds for replication, create the group, wait another 5 seconds for replication, and then here is our 2D array. So we're going to have Starbuck, Carathrace, Gaius Baltar, William Adama, Lee Adama, Boomer, Sharon, Valerie, Laura Roslin, number 6, Saul Ty, Samuel Anders, Tori Foster, Galen Tyrell, Ellen Ty, Leoben Conway, and John Cavill. Okay, and notice their attribute data is different here. John Cavill, he's the villain in chief of the evil Cylons. In his description, the most evil model. My mouse is going crazy. The most evil model of Cylon ever devised. Okay, and of course they all need different employee numbers too, as well. Leoben Kanoi, right? That shouldn't be ponies. That should be Cylons. He's the tormentor of Starbucks. Okay, Ellen Ty, raging alcoholic lush. Okay, you break it, he'll fix it, is what Galen does. Tori Foster, she's the stabber of backs. Sam, he's too good for this universe. He was the ultimate good guy, self-sacrificing. Saul, he was a self-hating Cylon. He couldn't deal with the fact that he was a Cylon when he discovered that. Number 6, a lover, not a fighter. She was totally in love with Gaius, right? Rosalind, Adama's soulmate. Mother of hybrids was Boomer or Sharon. Adama's wayward son, that was Apollo. The leader of the pack was Obama. Gaius Baltar, chaotic neutral. Just when you thought he's a villain, he does something good and he's a good guy. And then just when you think he's a good guy, he does something really evil and he's a villain. And that was kind of all the way through the series there. But Starbuck, she's a Viper pilot and she was, the harbinger of death, basically, in that series. But we're just passing all the attribute data in and doing the same thing, okay? For batch Naruto, we do the same. Hidden Leaf Village, Hidden Leaf Shinobi Ninjas, and look at our data here. Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura, Haruno, Sasuke, Kakashi, Jiraiya, Lady Tsunade. You remember Jiraiya, he was Pervy Sage. Jiraiya was known as Pervy Sage. And, you know, in this case, Sasuke, he's kind of the most emo ninja ever devised. And Sakura, Naruto's lifelong crush and unrequited love. Remember, Naruto would always say, it's my ninja way, bushy brow. Going down, you know, Hinata Hyuga, she was in love with Naruto and Gaara and Rock Lee and Shikamaru and Kurama Ninetales. You know, Nine-tailed Fox needs serious anger management. All right, the Nine-tailed Fox had serious anger management issues. Kabuto and Orochimaru, you know, sort of the villains of the series, but it's got all their data in that 2D array, okay? Doing the same thing. Here we have One Piece, doing the exact same thing. Same thing with the code, but we're going through and now we're creating the One Piece characters. Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Sanji, Robin, Chopper, Usopp. Doing the same thing. And here we have Star Trek The Next Generation. We're doing the same thing, right? With Jean-Luc Picard, William T. Riker, Beverly Crusher, Worf Moog, Data Sung, Deanna Troi, Geordi LaForge. So I'm going to run all this, and we're going to provision these accounts, okay? So let's see what happens when we run all of those functions. And before we do, let's take a look at AD, all right? All right, so we don't really have any of these accounts in AD right now, do we? No, not really. Okay. So let's run our script and populate AD. And it's replicating. You know, we're waiting our 5 seconds each time. So now we're creating the first OU, its global security group and all of its users. Creating the second OU, the global security group waiting for replication. Adding all of its users. We're creating the third organizational unit, waiting for replication, the global security group, again waiting. Adding the users, creating the fourth OU, global security group, waiting for replication, and now adding all the users, and finally creating the fifth organizational unit, the global security group, waiting, and adding the users, okay? So now we have created and added all those users into our Active Directory. We've provisioned all those accounts, and that was much quicker. You know, if we had used the GUI tools to do that, look at these new OUs that we've added, and the user accounts and the GSGs within them. And everything's all set, right? If I went, like, look, MLP Friendship is Magic admins. They're all members of my global security group, okay? Here's my data, the attributes of my accounts. There's Applejack, right? She has all of those attributes set on her account. Here's Fluttershy. She has all those attributes set on her account. Rainbow Dash. The description, if I look at BSG and the Cylons, all right, so let's take a look at Gaius Baltar, right? He has the attributes set on his account, and we have the descriptions here. And let's look at the global security group. If I look at the global security group, BSG Cylon Human Hybrid Crew properties, they're all added as members, right? Let's go to Hidden Leaf Village, and look. Here's all of our Naruto user accounts, okay? And again, look, our accounts have been populated with the data from our script and Active Directory, okay? So let's look at Kuruma Ninetales. It needs serious anger management. S-Class Ninja Squad. So all that data, it's been populated in Active Directory. Let's look at One Piece, okay? All right, here are our characters in One Piece. And let's look at the Going Merry Crew properties. All the members have been added, right? To our global security group there. And let's look at our fifth organizational unit, the Enterprise D Crew properties. All of our characters have been added there, right? And okay, I spelled that wrong there, and conclusive, but whatever. There, so kind of gives you an idea of populating AD. You know, how would you provision users like that? How would you provision those users? And if we wanted to, I'm going to go back and run. I'm going to go back and run now that we provisioned all these users here. And let me run something real quick. We'll just get a user count for, let's see, let's list our OUs and let's just list the number of users in our OUs. We'll follow this here, right? So we're going to get all of our organizational units, create a custom or a PS custom object. We're going to pull their canonical name and the user account in each of these now. I'm going to run this. All right. So notice I have 6 users in MLP main characters, have 14 users in BSG Silent Hybrids, 13 users in Hidden Leaf Village, 7 users in One Piece, and 7 users in Star Trek The Next Generation. Okay. And if we wanted to count and display those users, we're going to run this code. And I were to pass in the LDAP string data, we could just index them and pull them by, let's do BSG Silent Hybrids, okay? And they're at the root level. So I'm going to change this to OU equals, and we will get, matter of fact, I'm going to save this data here. All right, just because I want the name data. All right, so we're going to get, in this example, well, let's just cycle through each one. All right. No, clipboard, that was not what I wanted. There, okay? So let's clear the console. Now that we have provisioned all these organizational units and users and global security groups, I'm going to add a manager to them real quick. In this case, we'll let Adama manage each of the 5 GSGs that we created. So to do that, we're just going to create a one-dimensional array. And we're going to pass the LDAP string in of each one of those into a for loop. Just a quick and easy way to set Adama as the manager. Okay, so now all these groups will be managed by Adama. If we were to look at these groups, there's Adama as a manager, right? Adama. Adamo. All right, so that being done, save that for later. And what we want to do now, let's go through and just list the members of all the global security groups in each of those OUs that we created. So now that we've populated Active Directory with the organizational units, created the global security groups, created the user accounts, added the user accounts to the global security groups in the organizational units, and set the manager object, right? Adam is now the manager for that group. Let's look at getting each one. So if the first group we want to get, it's the OU component and the CN component here. Get that. All right, so MLP submitments, and then OU, and then here would be the full LDAP string. Okay, so with the full LDAP string, we have the 6 main characters of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, MLP Fun, right? Twilight Sparkle, Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, Applejack, Pinkie Pie, Rarity. And it's just numerically sequencing them in this for loop here, right? All right, using our get-80 group member commandlet. Okay, let's look at the next one in our string, and that was this one. All right, so there's our 6 members. Just going to change the group name up here under the canonical name component. Oh, and my OU I need to change too. I should have copied and pasted this whole string right here, but that's what I'll do right there, right before the domain components. Okay, so the canonical name, and I need to change the OU up here. Okay. And if I do that, all right, again, I'm numbering sequentially. These are all the user accounts added to that group. Okay, just using my for loop there. And let's go down and grab the next one. So I'm going to get the canonical name and the OU name. And this time we will do the Hidden Leaf Village. Okay. So there's our 14 users added to BSG Cell Human Hybrid Crew. Now we'll look at Hidden Leaf Village. Here's our 13 members of Hidden Leaf Village. All right, so Hidden Leaf Shinobi Ninjas and the Hidden Leaf Village OU. Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, Jiraiya, Lady Tsunade, Hinata, Gaara, Rakli, Shikamaru, Kurama, Kabuto, and Orochimaru. Okay. And let's take a look at our next. All right, so canonical name, the Going Merry Crew, and organizational unit for One Piece. And we'll look at the user accounts in that group. So there's 7. Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Sanji, Robin, Chopper, and Usopp. Okay. And last but not least, let's look at the Enterprise D crew, GSG. All right, Jean-Luc Picard, William T. Riker, Beverly Crusher, Worf Moog, Data Soong, Deanna Troi, Geordi LaForge. Okay. So just to give you an idea of account provisioning and how you can do that really quickly with just some arrays, or we could import it from a CSV file instead of an array. We could fill up a CSV file and use the import-csv command. We went over that in file access and that PowerShell video in file access. But if you need to review those PowerShell videos, you might want to go through a few of those. But this becomes a very powerful and useful tool for provisioning accounts and populating and modifying accounts in Active Directory. We can do mass moves of accounts from one OU to another based on certain criteria. We can refresh and update attributes. We can remove and create accounts and change all of the member data of those accounts and change group membership and create or remove groups. So think about all the things you can do with just these basic commandlets in PowerShell and the PowerShell language itself. Now that you know how to use these commandlets with repetition structures and decision structures and arrays, two-dimensional arrays and parallel arrays, and now that you understand inheritance and inheritance hierarchies and class structures and things like that, you can take these commandlets and you can use them to do good things.